All right, you ready? So this is something written by Al Wilson in the 1950s. And think of this when we think of ISIS. Think of it when we think of people coming into our country who we don't know who they are. Just think of it, because I think it's really pretty amazing. And it's called The Snake. Ready? On her way to work one morning, down the path along the lake, a tender-hearted woman saw a poor, half-frozen snake. His pretty-colored skin had been all frosted with the dew. "Poor thing," she cried, "I'll take you in, and I'll take care of you. Take me in, O tender woman. Take me in, for heaven's sake. Take me in, O tender woman," sighed the broken snake. A snake, a snake. She wrapped him up all cozy in a comforter of silk and laid him by her fireside with some honey and some milk. She hurried home from work that night, and soon as she arrived, she found that pretty snake she loved had totally been revived. "Take me in, O tender woman, take me in, for heaven's sake. Take me in, O tender woman," sighed the broken snake. Now remember, this is terrorism. This is what's happening. This is our country. Remember what I'm saying. She clutched him to her bosom. "You're so beautiful," she cried. "But if I hadn't brought you in by now, you simply would have died." She stroked his pretty skin again and kissed him and held him tight. But instead of saying thank you, the snake gave her a vicious bite. "Take me in, O tender woman. Take me in, for heaven's sake. Take me in, O tender woman," sighed the vicious snake. "And you've bitten me, but why?" "I saved you, darling, I saved you." "You've bitten me, but why?" "You know your bite is poisonous. And now, I'm going to die." "Oh, shut up, silly woman," said the reptile with a grin. "You knew damn well I was a snake before you took me in." Right? And that's what we're doing to our country, folks, believe me. That's what we're doing to our country. We have to be vigilant. We have to be strong. We have to be smart.
Good day, brethren. And you see, Donald Trump said that the snake gives the woman a vicious bite. The woman always speaks about the church. We're living in the end times, and the second beast is on the scene, and he is deceiving the church today in great numbers. Yes, I always say this, that 2019 is the final lap to 2020, where the showdown will come down, when everything will, when we will see biblical prophecy of the sixth seal will come to pass in its full measure. Now, many Christians and watchmen have strong opinions as to the proper lineage of the biblical Antichrist. They say the Antichrist must be an Assyrian, the Antichrist must be an Israeli tribe of Dan, the Antichrist must be a Muslim and be traced to Prophet Muhammad, or the Antichrist must be traced to Caesar, the Roman Empire, the Antichrist must be a Jew or traced to King David. Well, somehow they're all correct, but Isaiah 14 and Paul states clearly that the Antichrist and false prophet do give rise from a Christian nation. There is not much Christians in Syria. There's not that much Christians in Israel. There's not that much in any Muslim country, or even for Rome or Europe at present. But who is that Christian nation? And that Christian nation is America. Please see my previous videos. I'm not going on the subject again. But eventually, this to the false prophet will give rise. The first one, which is a second beast, will rule first. And he will give rise from Rome as the little horn of the fourth empire. There is another little horn from the third empire, from Alexander's empire, and Barack Obama gives a rise from that little horn. But he only comes truly on the scene in the second half of the tribulation. Donald Trump takes the lead in the first half as spokesman for Barack Obama. That is what the Bible points to. And as I said, the Jews do believe in two messiahs. The Jews do believe in two messiahs. And that two messiahs is the biblical two beasts from Revelation 13. The first beast and the second beast. So the secondary Messiah, is referred by the Jews as Messiah ben Joseph, sometimes referred to as Ben Ephraim, because he will descend from the tribe Joseph through Ephraim. Ben Joseph is from Ephraim, and we all know that America is Ephraim. America is Ephraim. Some say it's Manasseh, but America is the youngest of the two between Britain and America. So, of course, we all know that Jacob switched his hands, and Joseph tried to stop him. And Messiah the secondary Messiah is referred to by the Jews as the Messiah ben Joseph, sometimes referred to as Messiah ben Ephraim, because he will descend from the tribe of Joseph through Ephraim. Ben Joseph is from Ephraim. Ephraim does not symbolize some modern entity or nation, but represent the 10 tribes of Israel. It is more than possible that Donald Trump is from one of the 10 lost tribes known collectively as Ephraim, as I explained to you, that America is Ephraim. And the Jews acknowledge that. Yeah, the Hebrew word meaning for that is the anointed one, and Ben translated as son or son of. So Messiah ben Joseph would render as the anointed one, son of Joseph. And as I said, Donald Trump did hint then on Feast of Purim. You can see the previous video. He hinted to the Jews that he is the Messiah. The Jews were expected, the rabbis were expected an announcement, and they said that the Messiah will reveal himself, and he did reveal himself by declaring the golden house as legend to Israel. Now, let me get to Jacob's family. Let's start there. We all know about Jacob, a story with his mother Isaac and Rebekah, and we know his brother Esau, that he defrauded his brother, and then he had to flee, of course, then to his mother's country in Iraq itself. Southern Iraq, where Abram grew up. Yes, and these were these 4 wives: Leah, Zilpah, Rachel, and Bilhah. Of course, Jacob loved Rachel that much, and he worked for 7 years, but he did not get Rachel. And of course, we all know that he got Leah, the biggest girl of the two. So Laban told him, no, this is not our custom. You must marry the eldest one first. And Leah was the eldest, so he had to work another 7 years, of course, for Rachel. Rachel could not fall pregnant then, and Leah already gave Jacob's sons, Reuben, Simon, Levi, Judah, Issachar, Zebulun, and then two from Zilpah, Gad, and Asher. And then Rachel also gave her maid to Jacob to wife, and so that she can have, I won't say a wife as such, it's more like a surrogate mother. Rachel actually reared them as well as Leah reared all those sons. But both these two were like surrogate mothers. But having said this, did you know that Zilpah and Bilhah, these four were actually sisters? These two were, Bilhah and Zilpah, I think they were twins, and they were half sisters to Rachel and Leah. Yes, Laban had concubines, and these two daughters were from those concubines. So they were actually half sisters to each other there. And then, of course, Rachel then received Dan from Bilhah. Now, Dan was, Naphtali was his brother, and later came Joseph and Benjamin, of course. But Dan was always the black sheep in the family. Now, I believe that Dan's issues started with that, and that is why he pulled away completely from the family. Family life is very important, and how you rear your children is very important. And we can see this today in world society, where everything is heading to, because there is no true family life in this world today. That is very rare amongst the nations today. Yes, so we are blessed if we come from a family that we are reared up properly. Even myself, we were 7 people, and I remember my sister. One sister was the black sheep in the family, and she looked for love outside the family, and eventually her daughter. Let me put it straight to you. She was never really married to any man, and the daughter became a lesbian. And here we find that Dan is not included into the 141st fruit bride of the Jewish bride. Why? Is because Dan went into a false religion, and we're coming to that now in a minute's time. But this is just a brief overview of Jacob's family there. Now, this was the time when, just before they went into Egypt, they were 70 before they went into Egypt. We all know that 74 of them were already there, Joseph and his 4 sons. And later they came out of Egypt, and then, of course, they were in the desert with for 40 years with Moses as the leader, and this was the camp order in the with the tabernacle. With the tabernacle in the middle, and this was the camping order. And we find that Dan, Asher, and Naphtali were always north. And when Dan immigrated, he also went north. We will discuss that in a moment as well. Please do not switch off the video or think this is conspiracy theory, a theory. Watch the video till the end. It's very important because the average video view is just for half an hour. Is 12. A 12-minute video is about four minutes, and you're doing an injustice by just watching, popping in and just going. Watch the full video. There's a lot of interesting things that you do not know of. Now, the rest of the tribes here, Issachar, Judah, Zebulun were the east. And today, in this order around the earth, you can find most of the Danites, Naphtali, they are all in the northern hemisphere, and as well as Benjamin, Ephraim, and Manasseh is in the western now. Like I said to you, America is Ephraim. Not that Ephraim is in the other parts of the world. They were all scattered into the world according to Deuteronomy 28 verse 64. Go read it, and also watch my previous video. The Antichrist and false prophet come from a Christian nation. Watch from the 8 minutes on there, teaching about what happened to all the lost tribes of Israel. In actual fact, you are those lost tribes, and you will be amazed. But that's not a subject here tonight. I'm just mentioning it. Gad and Reuben and Simeon then were in the southern half, and most of them you will find in the southern part of the world. They are mostly found in the southern part of the world, but they are distributed right throughout the earth. That is where the lost tribes is today. And God knows who each and every one is. They are not lost. You are that lost tribe of Israel. Go watch that video, and you will see it for yourself. So these were the camping order then. But I just want to say something else. That Dan, Judah, and Ephraim, and Reuben made up. You remember the four living creatures in Revelation 4. Dan was facing one of them, and Ephraim the bull, Reuben the man, and Judah the lion. Those were the faces of the four living creatures that surround God's throne room. And Satan was also one of them before. He was a cherub before, watching God's throne room. And that was the order then of the camp. Now, after the desert experience, of course, the 12 tribes got their possession then in the promised land. Now, I'm not going to discuss the rest of them, but Dan specifically did not get a large proportion of the land. He got a very small proportion of the land, and it was too small for them. And Dan, in actual fact, was the biggest of the group, with Judah, the two largest family groups of about 600,000, 800,000 and 600,000 men each. That's not a woman included, of course, And we all know that God promised Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob that their offspring will be like the sand and stars of the sky. This is a teaching that I'm telling you about it. You need to go watch that video. So please do watch that video. This will give you more information on where the 10 lost 12 tribes is. So, yeah. So Dan then got this portion of the land, and it was too small, or that land was too small for them. And later, Dan then moved into the area of Lachish. They sent five spies out to spy out land, and this place was already named Dan. That is amazing. But they destroyed that city and built a new city and called it area Dan, after their father. And this is where the angels, the fallen angels, came down, the Golan Heights in northern Israel. And this is where the fallen angels then came down. And of course, this is where Dan got mixed up, and Dan itself then, the angels from the tribe of Dan mixed with the fallen angels, and giants came from them. And that is not a conspiracy theory, that is the truth. And that's one reason why they were left out of the first fruits. They're not included in the 144,000. Of course, Manasseh and Ephraim got a double portion through Joseph, and Manasseh is then included in there. So Donald Trump, the serpent seed from the royal bloodline tribe of Dan. The tribe of Dan was also known as the Phoenicians, and the Danes, the Danish, the Danites, the Vikings. In every nation, they had special names. And I just want you to watch a video clip before I go on further. I want you to watch this video clip. It's just a short video clip about Dan itself, and that will explain the Phoenicians, the Danes, and everything else. Okay?
Behold his mighty hand!
Most people are familiar with the biblical story of the Exodus, where Moses led the 12 tribes, as they were called, to settle in what is now Israel. One interesting detail of this story, which is often overlooked, is that one of those tribes had members that also went north, settling in places like Greece and Sardinia, which also retains the root word Dan in its name. In the book of Numbers, the tribe of Dan is portrayed as the second largest Israelite tribe, after Judah. That said, Danoi, used 138 times in the Iliad, are Greek people that Homer identifies as the besiegers of Troy, the Mycenaeans. Their capital was called Mycenae.
Could the Danites, who lived in Canaan, modern-day Israel, really be related to the Danoi, who lived in Mycenae, modern-day Greece? In Homer's Odyssey, we discovered that the Danoi are migrant people. Even the word Odyssey is literally associated with these migrants. Second, we learned that they are mighty warriors that chase Helen by ship to Troy. Even the great Achilles fights in their ranks. Third, they are expert craftsmen who build the famous wooden horse that fools the Trojans. In the Bible, we find a similar profile for the Danites. We first hear about them in the story of Moses when he leaves Egypt with his 12 tribes heading to the Holy Land. Moses partitions Canaan and gives a portion to each tribe. Judah and his people, the Judahites, get Judea. This tribe later becomes the Jews. The mysterious Danites decide not to take their share and instead are the only tribe to migrate. They head north to a town called Laish, which they conquer and rename Dan, modern-day Tel Dan. The most famous of the Danites is Samson, a mighty warrior, more similar to the Greek Hercules than other Hebrew prophets. We also learned that the Danites are expert craftsmen, chosen to build the sacred gold-laden Ark of the Covenant. During the Exodus from Egypt, some Danites traveled by land to Canaan, while others migrated north by ship to the Aegean. The Danites were seafarers. After leaving Egypt with Moses, some of the Danites may have migrated north by sea and ended up in an area of the Aegean called Mycenae, to become the Danoi written about in Homer's Iliad. But can we find archaeological evidence of this migration? Amazingly enough, right after the Jews leave Egypt, vast quantities of gold mysteriously appear in Mycenae, in what are called shaft tombs. To add to the striking discovery, archaeologists believe this gold came from Egypt. But do we have a reason to think the gold came via the Danites? When the Danites helped build the Ark of the Covenant, they covered it in gold, so we know that they are expert goldsmiths. It would make sense that they would have brought their craft and their precious metal to the Aegean.
The tribe of Dan had the following positions. The seventh son was born. Many other commentators say that Dan was the fifth son. But if you read the Bible, you'll find that Dan was the seventh son then of Jacob. And the following positions, the seventh son of born from Jacob, the seventh son to receive a blessing from Jacob, Genesis chapter verse 49, and the seventh tribe to counted in the number chapter 1 census. And we find it strange that Donald Trump also has that same number, 7. He is the seventh king in Revelation 17, verse 10. He is the seventh king that will have a short space of time, but that's another interesting subject for another video. And I believe that Donald Trump will have two terms. And that is a video that I was talking about, but there is a twist in the tale in the second term. Okay, you set your notifications for that video. That video comes next after this one. Yeah. Now the seventh tribe was counted in the number chapter 1 census, and he is also the chief leader of the north, and the chief leader in the north in the number chapter 2 of the camps, as I just showed you. Yeah, and then the center north position in the Mazzaroth, and is the constellation Scorpio. Yes, Dan takes up the constellation Scorpio, and is the second largest tribe in the number census. In this tribe, 62,700 men. I think Judah was about 70,000, so they were almost equal. Then to receive a blessing from Moses, the seventh lot of land inherited in Joshua, the east position of the kingdom described in Ezekiel. Now, as we said, Daniel is not sealed in the in Revelation amongst the 144,000, and I already told you that Dan got involved with false worship. Yeah, and the tribe of Dan then these were symbols. Of course, we coming to Jacob's prophecy now. The tribe of Dan symbols are the serpent, the horse kicking up, the eagle biting a snake, and the scorpion that pinches, and then also the red garnet. Last three letters of the most countries and are A and D, which is an anagram of Dan. Now, if you see the green here, this is a pre-captivity. This is the pre-captivity before 734 of migrations, and the red is the post-captivity after 734 721 BC migrations. Now, wherever Dan went, he left a mark behind, either a name, his father's name, or a name. Wherever he traveled, right through Europe, he left cities with that name, rivers were named after them, and wherever they went, they left a trace, just like a snake leaving a trace. Dan also left a trace. And we find that here in, eventually they all settled in Denmark. In Denmark, he says Denmark was a place, this is the most populous place with Danites, and all the surrounding areas they governed before: Scandinavia, Sweden, Iceland, even England were named after, Scotland were named, and Ireland were named over. And I'm telling you, look at the A and D that I just mentioned now before. And when I came to my surname, Vinan, I got a shock of my life. I do know my mother said yes that they are from Ireland, and that their family originated from the tribe of Dan. But I know my father is from Issika, and that is actually from Germany, but they resided most in Netherlands. That is where they resided. So yeah, so that is very interesting to find that my name is Vinand, and the A and D, as I said, which is an anagram for Dan. Now the question I ask myself, will I be left out of the 144,000? I don't think so. I don't think so. Yeah, that is just, and even if you are from a tribe, you know you're from a tribe of Dan, and you are saved, you will not left behind out of the what's name, because these are the Gentiles. We're talking about the actual Jewish tribes of Dan. They were not in the 144,000. But that is something else. The 144 is another subject on its own, and I will deal with that in another video. Who is the 144,000? The 144,000 is not who you think is it. And most people think they are part of the 144,000. No, you're not. You are not. But that is another video on another day. Yes. Now we're coming to the tribe of Dan. The blessing of the tribe of Dan from Jacob's blessing to that tribe. He said, Dan will provide justice for his people as one of the tribes of Israel. Dan will be a serpent by the roadside. That is, think it's something, if somebody had to give me a prophecy like that, I will sink to the ground. He said, Dan will be a serpent by the roadside, a viper along the path that bites the horse's heels. Now that very sounds like Genesis 3 verse 15. It says that Genesis 3 verse 16 says, Jesus said that the serpent will bite his heels, but he will of course crush. Jesus will crush his head at the end, you know, and that sounds very much like that. And yeah, and that the rider tumbles backwards. I look for you. This prophecy also correlates to the tribe of Dan, the tribe that will bring forth the son of Satan. And that is a fact. It's a fact. It's not some conspiracy theory. This prophecy correlates to the tribe of Dan, the tribe that will bring forth the son of Satan. The state, and I just stated in the beginning that both Donald Trump and Barack Obama is both from the tribe of Dan. And Antiochus Epiphanes, he is from the tribe of Dan. Although he state in theory he was actually originate from Greece, and that is where the Danaanites came from, and you've seen that in that video clip I told you to watch. And I will put enmity between you and the woman, and between your seed and her seed, and he shall bruise your head, and you shall bruise his heel. I just said it previously. Even though a number of his sons received a negative prediction, none quite matches the nature which was spoken concerning the tribe of Dan. Note carefully that Jacob's prophecy, Dan is a serpent. And Jacob, however, is more specific in the next sentence, for he states, Dan shall be an adder in the path. Thus, Dan is prophesied to be an impediment, an opponent, and negative force in the latter days. The latter days that is imminent, very imminent. In the latter days, and it is well known, of course, that the serpent is representative of evil, conniving of the world wisdom. The serpent encountered in Genesis 3 was cursed by Almighty God to crawl upon its belly in the dust or the ground, and thus the word Nakesh. This Nakesh is the Targum interpretation. It became the general term for a snake in the Hebrew language. How interesting then that the first human being ever to be scripturally identified with a serpent is none other than as I said, many people say it's the fifth son. It is not the fifth son. This is actually let me correct it there in the same, what is that? I checked the scripture. It is the seventh son of Israel, and the subject of this is a subject of our discussion. Dan himself and the serpent connection to the tribe of Dan cannot be summarily dismissed as a casual use for this. Now let's get to Moses' blessing. That is even more interesting, and that connects us to the previous video where Donald Trump announced the Golden Heights as legal, as legend to Israel. The Moses blessing, Deuteronomy 3 verse 22. About Dan, he said, Dan is a lion cub. Who said that as well? It was same said as to Judah, that Dan is a lion's whelp. Not Dan, Judah is a lion's whelp. A lion's whelp. And it is Moses said the same thing. Dan is a lion's whelp, springing out of Bashan. Now, where is Bashan? Bashan is Golden Heights, right down at Mount Hermon, where the fallen angels came down, and where Jesus himself declared. Jesus declared himself as the Messiah. He said to disciples, "Who do you say I am?" And Peter said, "You are Jesus Christ. Jesus Christ, the Messiah." That is what Peter said. And Jesus, of course, it's not it's the Spirit of God that revealed it to him. When Moses gave his final blessing to the children of Dan, he said of Dan, and Dan he said, Dan is a lion's whelp. He shall leap from Bashan. Daniel 32 verse 3, notice Dan would be a vigorous, warlike, and we'll see Donald Trump's coat of arms in a minute. There is a spear there is in there as well. Dan would be a vigorous, warlike tribe of tribe of warriors. He would not sit solitary and content, but would lead forth and journey forth by leaps. And he did. He literally did. The notion that as the true Messiah would be the Lion of Judah, so the false Messiah would be connected with the Lion of Dan. For as Christ is born of the tribe of Judah, so the Antichrist shall be born of the tribe of Dan. Christ is lion, and the Antichrist is a roaring lion. The Savior was manifested as a lamb, and he too will appear as a lamb, while he is a wolf within. My people, the second beast is right in the White House, and he is deceiving millions of believers in Christ. Yeah, Bashan and Mount Hermon, about 1,200 before Christ, children of Dan ended up settling in the far north of modern Israel under the shadow of Mount Hermon. Mount Hermon is located 33 degrees. Where do we hear that with the 33 degrees Masons of Scotland? North of the equator and the 30 degrees east of the Paris Prime Meridian. United Nations based on Mount Hermon, the pole, and this is where, at the point I showed it you in a previous video, the United Nations headquarters is there, is the biggest base is there. What is the purpose there? They are the 13th bloodline. That is what they are seeking out there. Yeah, the 33rd parallel, the Nephilim portal. What is the UN guarding? What are they communicating with at Mount Hermon? United Nations has strategically placed the biggest and most important base at the very top of Mount Hermon, the highest point, exactly where the fallen angels landed. If these fallen angels bred with humans, then the children of Dan must be their descendants. Certainly it is. Now, not all the tribe of Dan are bred with the fallen angels. Half of the tribe of Dan moved northwards, and some of the tribes still remained in that small area of land. And when the Danites then were deported, they went with Assyria at that point in time, and then of course they moved away. Then of course Danites were the seafaring people, and they always gave the leads, and they were traveling by boat with most of the other descendants of the lost 10 tribes. The settlers of Ireland were known as Tuatha De Danann, meaning tribe of Dan. It cast the cells, the roots, and everything that came after in a different light. Now, as I said earlier, a serpent, when it slithers and crawls, leaves a trail or track in the sand. Even so, the tribe of Dan would leave signs or waymarks showing where it had journeyed. They tended to leave their name behind as an identifying sign. As I said earlier, we go into Trump's control, Trump's condo up there, and it will come up. And there you find in Trump's condo. If we can't find any traces there, as they say, a snake that slithers always leave a trace. And there we can see the fallen angel. Apollo is one of the four principalities of Satan, and this fallen angel, then he was not Satan itself. He will possess the second beast, and then there's another fallen angel that will possess the first beast, which is called the Antichrist. The second beast is called the false prophet, and the first, then some call it, the Bible calls it the two beasts of the two beasts, but is we giving it a name of Antichrist, but actually it's called false Messiah. I don't like the word Antichrist, but rather prefer the word false Messiah. Here you can see another picture here. Here's another fallen angels, Eros, Psyche. There we have it. This is how you search, and there you can find it. Right in there's state thoughts, Eros and Psyche. This is a fallen angel. What has got that to do? It got all to do with sex. That's what it got to do with. And here is Trump's coat of arms. We're coming to Donald Trump's coat of arms in a minute's time. Canaanites were the goldsmith. They placed gold around the ornaments of the temple, and you can see the whole building of is gold plated. The toilet is gold plated. Everything is gold plated. But as I said, the serpent, when it slithered, it crawls, it leaves a track in the sand. Even so, the tribe of Dan would leave signs, waymarks, showing where it had journeyed or who they are. They tended to leave their name behind as in identifying signs. As I said earlier, my surname is Vinand, and the AND is an anagram then for the name Dan. Yeah. Now here's Donald Trump's coat of arms, and I said earlier you need to take note of the symbols that Dan has been for, and if you look at here it says it's 3 lions. Here's the 3 lions. These are the coat of arms of Denmark. This is the coat of Denmark, and you can see there that snake-like coming out of the lion there that represent the serpent, even the tail for that matter, and it leaps forth. The lion, it leaps forth and take great strides. Here we see the same in Donald Trump's 3 lions as well. And let's take a count here. You'll be surprised. Now you can look at it and you cannot see it. Let's look at that spear for that matter. As I said, in his coat of arms there is a spear. They are warlike. He just shot recently 59 Tomahawk missiles into Syria. And look at that hand there. Why? Clutching it like that. If you can look at the mirror itself there, you don't take a spear like that. You take a spear like that, not like that. What is a symbol of that? That speaks of penetration. It shows the vagina up there. You can see it then for yourself there. That's what it is there. And if you count the number here, it sounds 1. Let's count together. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 along the outer quarters. Count 13. That represents the 13 tribes of Israel. Dan being the 13th bloodline. This is also the speaks of the 13th bloodline of the Illuminati. This is what it is saying here. There right now, as I said, that symbols, you have the number 7 symbol. It's a symbol. Some say as it's 5, but they arrange it like that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It takes the 5th son, but it's not a 5th son. And if you include this 2, it is 7. You have the 7th position. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. This is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. There you have it. And then what this is saying that he is the second person. You know the triangle? He represents the second person in the evil trinity. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. He is the second person in the evil trinity. 1, 2, 3. These are all stars. Remember what Lord said about the stars, and the stars falling. Yeah, the stars will be falling to the earth. And that is Donald Trump's coat of arms. Let's look briefly just at Obama's one. Yeah, you can see also the snake-like figure there. There you've got the anchor there. That he is the anchor of the world. You see the queen. He will sit in then as king. That is what is said on David's throne. That is what he's proclaiming there. This, of course, is the Kenyan flag tribes people. He actually states it himself where he comes from. And then right in the middle here, he can say the all-seeing eye, declaring himself God, declaring himself as the son of Satan. That is what Obama declares himself there. There you also have a sword. It's also from the tribe of Dan. Warlike, what's his name? It sounds like Gander from Kenya. But when the sun comes up in the west, that's what it says. When the sun comes up in the west, he will be the king of the earth. That is what Barack Obama says there. And then where will he be? His seat in the United Nations. There is a seat there, 666, in Brussels. In Brussels. There is a seat empty there. Why is there a seat empty there? Because after America is post-America, when America is destroyed, that will be the next, the new world empire in the European Union, of course. That is where they will take up their headquarters from Brussels. They will rule the world, then divide the world into 10 regions, the 7 continents into 10 regions, and that is where they will rule from. Yes, these are almost like he said he was in the Garden of Eden with the 2 shepherds for 2 fallen angels. That's what he states there. Yeah, so this is what is then coat of arms. They always leave a trace. You can tell. And then this word, honisud quatia. I don't know what that means, but let's find out there. I see it. Not that. I did have it there somewhere. I don't know the word. Somewhere here. Let's just get it quickly there. Hope I found it. Yeah, honey. That's it. It says here, shame on him. Shame on him who think ill of it. That's what you can go through Honisud my pens yourself. I'll leave the link for you, and you can read all about the Most Noble Order of the Garter. It's an English order of and history stretching back to medieval times. So you watch that yourself. So that is Barack Obama's also from the tribe of Dan, but he qualifies for all five, and you'll see now his genealogy in a moment's point of time. So here then Denmark, the name of the modern country in Europe, north of Germany, means literally Dan's mark. Its people are called Danes. In fact, because it's one time Denmark ruled all the surrounding regions, the world regions took the name from Scandinavia, which is actually, Dan ruled this whole area here, including Germany. Dan, who migrated west with overland from the Caucasus to their present location in Northern Europe. The early Danites fled Egypt at the time, and you've seen that in the video clip earlier on. They fled during the time of Exodus, migrated through Sardinia, and left their trail along the sea coast of the Mediterranean. Thus, Dan, who was a lion's whelp, who would leap from Bashan, all the way to Ireland, Scotland, and Denver Peninsula. And here we can see all the populations from Denmark into the other nations as well. This was the latest census, 2017 census. This is about almost close to 5 million in Denmark. It's more than now. United States, 1.5 million. Canada, 200,000. And this is how you can read this all yourself here. This is the total population just of Danes, of the Danites itself. Now let's look at Ireland. In Ireland today, we find the customary evidence. Their place names in abundance, such names as Dance, Law, Dance, Silver, Dance, Monism, Dance, Dalka, Dance, Drum, Donegal Bay, Donegal City, Dunglow, Londonderry. Ireland, as I said, my mother is from Ireland. But my mother, my grandfather, them are from Ireland. That's why sometimes you see they always have red cheeks. Yeah. Yeah, Dunsmore, which means more dance, or the famous, most Irish, the ballet of all time is Songs of Danny Boy. It should be plain that the country of Ireland is replete, filled with the names which derive from the ancient patriarch of the Hebrew, Dan, the son of Jacob. It should be plain that the ancient Danites settled in Ireland, and most of them dwell in the in that land today. Donald Trump, the Merovingian, is also children of Dan. The Merovingians is also from the tribe of Dan, although they pretend to be from the tribe of Judah. Merovingian geographically placed names and personal names were sometimes Jewish. In the 6th century, a brother of King Clothair was named Samson, while Miriam Levitt was a count. Zion and Levite were Merovingian towns in France. Scholars have even traced Merovingian Salic law back to Judaic law. Trump is a Merovingian, a clear, perfect reincarnation of the early medieval, the Germanic king, Germanic king. Trump's personal hairstyle and family life have a distinct early medieval monarchical aura. Moravian traditions of long hair and the name Samson, you saw that in the earlier clip, the tradition of long hair and the name Samson among the royal house would indicate the descent from Samson and thus the tribe of Dan. Then there is Trump's unusual hairdo. The Merovingians were known as the long-haired kings because amongst their fellow Franks, they did not cut their hair. Long hair consequently became a sign of royalty and power. The Merovingians, who planned to rule the world from the future throne at Jerusalem, claimed to come from the tribe of Judah. And Jesus warned in the Bible they are not. They are not of Judah. They say they are, but they are not. Well, some call him another name, the Khazars, whatever it is. Well, Jesus said in itself, they are not. But they believe, and they say, even if you tell a lie enough, it will become truth. They say, but they claim to come from a tribe of Judah through Jesus Christ and Mary Magdalene. You remember that movie came out at one time? However, the weight of evidence indicate that they descend from the tribe of Dan. In the eyes of the enlightened ones, the 13th bloodline, the Merovingian line, is the little horn scripture that Scripture tells us in Daniel 7:20. Remember the stout horn? It fits Donald Trump. He is bigger than the rest of his fellows. The second beast will rise from the European Union and rule over the 10 kings. He is the man in your picture, people. He is the man in your picture. I know you do not like it. I have many friends on YouTube and Facebook who are following Trump, who likes Trump. Yes, he does do a certain good for people, but it will be all be a backlash to entice you and to lure you. And the Bible say that he deceives many into taking the mark of the beast. And that is my fear for you people. That is my fear for you people. This is not conspiracy theory. This is biblical evidence. And it describes Donald Trump and Barack Obama to the T. This bloodline moves in the France, Northern Europe, through the Merovingian king of the Franks, who gave his name to the Merovingian blood kings. From Clovis I, Dagobert I, Clovis II and III, and forward the kings to prove bloodlines right to the succeed to the throne. America, people, America, all the presidents comes from the same one king, even Donald Trump. And the enlightened ones make sure they choose the best bloodline for their presidents. All presidents are selected. They're not selected. They fooling you, believing that you select them. They select them for you. They select them for you, and then you elect them out of 2 or 3 nominees that they put forward. Yeah, the pretense is that the Merovingian bloodline was obtained from the bloodline of Jesus, of the house of David and his offspring from Mary Magdalene, and then mixed with the seed of Satan, proving them the right to the throne. We all know that this is not true. As Christians, we know that this is not true. But they believe it. And during the tribulation, when every havoc is there, there's no option but just to believe it. We all know that it is not true. The intention behind the myth of the Da Vinci Code was to reinforce the deception to the world. However, the elite believe this is true, and they are relying and they are banking on it. Satan blessed 13 bloodlines. Some of these bloodlines is from the Nimrod, the Ishmael, the Egyptian, the Orient, the Esau, the Canaanite, the tribe of Dan bloodline was used as a Judas Iscariot type seed. People, Judas Iscariot was not from the tribe of Judah. He was from the tribe of Dan. And that is why Jesus called him the son of perdition. The royalty of the tribe of Dan have descended down through historic as a powerful satanic bloodline. The 12th or final bloodline was copied after God's royal lineage of Jesus. This was satanic house of David with the blood which they believe is not only from the house of David, but also from the lineage of Jesus, who they claim had a wife and children. No, that's not true at all. The 13th satanic bloodline was installed with a direct seed and of Satan so that they would only carry Christ's blood, but also the blood of his brother Lucifer. That cannot be true. The children of Dan are still working their magic as judges, people. They still working their magic throughout all the ages. Hitler was from the tribe of Dan. Yes, he was from the tribe of Dan, people. And that is a fact. Donald Trump's family tree, this of course is from his father's side, and this downline came out of the Merovingian royal blood of that kings. This of course is Johannes Trump. Trump is called Trump first, that was a German surname. And here we can see the downline unto Frederick Trump, Elizabeth Christ. Nogal Elizabeth Christ. That sounds too good to be true. Elizabeth Christ, and Frederick Trump. Then they bring forth Frederick Trump, which of course was Donald Trump's father. And this, of course, is then through the McLeods, which we will also do in a minute. And then, of course, Mary McLeod. Mary's mother was, Donald Trump's mother was called Mary, and Christ. That sounds familiar. And Donald Trump had a very unusual birth. You can check it out in my video. His unusual birth in Donald Trump's short space of time. Yeah, ends 2020. But of course, I did say he will have two terms. But the last term, of course, is with a twist in the tail. You'll see it. Watch out for that video. Yes, and then of course we have Donald Trump and the rest of his family and his 3 wives and his children there. And you can go through it slowly yourself. And then of course this is Tiffany Trump and Barron Trump, which you also see a lot of videos on YouTube. And then is Donald Trump, this from the Merovingian kings, as I mentioned, Clovis I, and he is direct descendant of these kings, and You can slowly go through it yourself. Stop the video. I'm not going through all for the sake of time. And these are all the people that say involved: the Saxons, Burgundy, even the Muslims for that matter, Paris, Orleans. These are all the people that's involved in this kings here. Yeah, and then of course Donald Trump's bloodline from the Scottish division, Denmark, from Denmark itself, from the Queen, John Stewart and Elizabeth Stewart, and then from the King Christian of Denmark, Norway, and Sweden, and it follows all the downline. That follows all the downline. You can. I'm not going to mention all the names. You can look through it. And here on my Trump, yeah. Donald McKay. Watch out for Donald McKay. He comes in all the downlines, and there can you see it, and then it ends with Mary Ann Trump, as I mentioned earlier, and then the Queen Margaret II of Denmark. And then, of course, Donald Trump is also family of Hillary, and I just gave you that downline here, genealogy from John Beaufort, actually not from John Gant, and Catherine Swanford, Duchess of Lancaster and First Duke of Lancaster, and it follows all down from her downline to his downline and where they are now. So that is why, don't worry, they do not hate one another. He's not going to put them into jail. He's not going to put his cousin into jail. He's not going to put any of those over 6,000 convictions into jail. It's not going to happen, people. The wall is not going to happen, because the wall is part of the Antichrist. NAFTA is part of the Antichrist nation, as well as Brexit. Brexit is just a distraction. Britain is part of the European Union. It was just not Donald Trump, Obama's way to get rid of Trump so that he can follow his agenda concerning the European Union. I do discuss it also in a video. You can watch that video, Satan's Final Kingdom and the four beasts of Revelation. Now, finally, this one to conclude here, Donald Trump. This is from the Charlemagne downline. Did you know that all 44 presidents have carried European royal blood into office? 34 have been genetic descendants from just one person, Charlemagne. The brutal 8th century kings of the Franks. 19 of them directly descendants from King Edward III of England. In fact, Barack Obama quoted that saying of Edward III saying of Noms, I can't get to the name now. In fact, the presidential candidate with the most royal genes has won every single American election. This information comes from the Burke's Peerage, which is the Bible of the aristocratic genealogy based in London. Every presidential election in Americans since and including George Washington in 1789 to Bill Clinton has been won by the candidate of the most British and French royal genes. Of the 42 presidents to Clinton, 33 have been related to two people, Alfred the Great, King of England, and Charlemagne, the most famous monarch of France. So it goes on. 19 of them are related to England's Edward III, who has 2,000 blood connection to Prince Charles. The same goes on with banking families in America. And we all know about all the bankers that died recently. George Bush and Barbara Bush are from the same bloodline. If America declared its independence from Europe's monarchies in 1776, how is it possible that every single president has descended from European monarchs? People, think about that. Think about what I'm saying. Are your presidents being elected or selected? You did not elect any president. They were all selected. They come all from royal princes and kings. If presidents are democratically elected, as we are told, what are the odds that the Americans would always choose members of British and French royal bloods to lead them? That is all I have to say to you. Be blessed, friends. Please subscribe and press the notification. God bless you, people. Amen.